Taehyun woke to the sound of screams. He sat up fast in his small bed. The night was dark. Outside his window, red lights flashed across the sky. "Mom, Dad?" he called out, but no one answered. More screams came from the houses nearby. Taehyun jumped out of bed and ran to his parents' room. It was empty. Their blankets were thrown to the floor. A loud crash shook the house. Something was breaking in. Taehyun ran to the kitchen and grabbed a knife. His hands shook. The front door burst open. Taehyun saw it. Tall, with skin like metal and eyes that glowed green in the dark. A Varrock hunter. It was not human. It came from the stars. And it hunted humans. The Varrock made a clicking sound. It held up a device that beeped faster as it pointed at Taehyun. The alien took a step forward. Taehyun ran. He went through the back door and into the fields behind his house. The wheat was tall and helped hide him. He could hear the Varrock following. Its heavy steps crushed the plants. The beeping of its device got louder. Other houses in the small colony were on fire. New Haven was supposed to be safe. The people came to this planet to farm and live in peace. No one told them about the Varrock. Taehyun saw his neighbor's house. Old man Dowan might help him. But as he got closer, he saw the door was broken. Inside, there was blood on the floor. No one was there. "Run, boy," someone shouted from the darkness. Taehyun turned to see his father's friend, Shuno. The man was hurt, bleeding from his arm. "They're taking people. Run to the forest." Junho pointed to the thick trees beyond the farm fields. Then a bright light hit him from above. A ship hovered in the air. A beam pulled Junho up into the ship. He screamed, then was gone. Taehyun ran faster. The beeping behind him was getting closer. The Varrock was gaining on him. The edge of the forest was just ahead. If he could reach the trees, maybe he could hide. The Varrock's footsteps pounded the earth. Taehyun felt hot breath on his neck. He jumped over a fallen log and rolled down a small hill. The Varrock missed its grab. Taehyun kept running, deeper into the forest. The beeping faded a little. For hours, Taehyun ran and hid. He crossed a small stream. The water was cold, but he stayed in it, moving downstream. His father once told him that water can hide a person's scent from animals. Maybe it would hide him from the Varrock too. When morning came, Taehyun found a big hollow tree. He crawled inside and tried to be quiet. His whole body hurt. He was cold, wet, and scared. From his hiding spot, he could see smoke rising from New Haven. The Varrock ships were still there, floating above the colony like metal birds. How many people did they take? Were his parents alive? Taehyun's stomach growled. He was hungry, but afraid to leave his hiding place. He had dropped the knife when he fell down the hill. Now he had nothing to protect himself. Something moved in the bushes nearby. Taehyun held his breath. A deer stepped out, its ears moving back and forth. It looked nervous. Suddenly, the deer's head shot up. It sniffed the air, then ran away fast. Taehyun froze. Something else was in the forest, something that scared the deer. He pressed himself deeper into the hollow tree. Through a small crack, he saw a shape moving between the trees. It was big, with thick fur and 4 legs. Not a Varrock. This looked like an animal. Like a wolf, but bigger. The wolf creature stopped. It turned its head and looked right at Taehyun's hiding place. Its eyes were golden, and they seemed too smart for an animal. Taehyun did not move. He did not breathe. The wolf creature stared at the tree for a long time. Then it sat down, still watching. It was not leaving. It was waiting. Taehyun closed his eyes. First the Varrock, now this. How long could he survive out here alone? 3 days passed. Taehyun was very hungry. He had found some berries and a small stream for water, but it was not enough. The hollow tree was his home now. Each time he left to find food, he saw the wolf creature watching him from far away. "Why don't you just eat me and get it over with?" Taehyun shouted at it on the third day. The wolf creature tilted its head, but did not come closer. That night, rain fell hard. Water leaked into Taehyun's tree. He was cold and wet. His stomach hurt from hunger. He thought about his parents and cried. A noise woke him. Something was outside the tree. Taehyun held his breath. Had the Verruk found him? A dead rabbit dropped at the entrance of his hollow tree. Taehyun looked out. The wolf creature stood there, its golden eyes watching him. It backed away a few steps, then sat down. "Did you bring this for me?" Taehyun asked. The wolf creature made a soft sound, almost like a quiet bark. Taehyun slowly reached for the rabbit. He was too hungry to refuse. He had never made a fire before, but his father had shown him how. He gathered dry sticks and leaves under a large tree where the rain couldn't reach. It took many tries, but finally a small flame grew. As he cooked the rabbit, Taehyun kept looking at the wolf creature. It stayed a safe distance away but watched everything he did. "Thank you," Taehyun said. "I'll call you Duri. It means two in my language. There are two of us now." Duri's ears moved forward when Taehyun spoke. After eating, Taehyun felt stronger. He decided to find a better shelter. Duri followed him, always staying nearby, but never too close. When the sun was high, Taehyun heard a sound that made his blood turn cold. The beeping of a Verruk device. They were still hunting. "Hide," Taehyun whispered to Duri. But the wolf creature didn't run away. Instead, it came to Taehyun and pushed him with its nose, forcing him to move. Duri led him up a steep hill. The beeping got louder. The Verruk was getting closer. Taehyun's legs hurt, but he kept climbing. At the top of the hill, there was a small opening between two rocks. Duri pushed Taehyun toward it. "I can't fit in there," Taehyun said. Duri pushed harder. Taehyun got down on his hands and knees. The space was tight, but he managed to squeeze through. Inside was a small cave. Duri followed him in. They moved deeper into the cave. It was dark, but Duri seemed to know where to go. They walked for what felt like hours, through narrow passages and large open spaces inside the mountain. The beeping sound faded away. They were safe from the Verruk, for now. Finally, they came to a place where light shined down from a hole in the ceiling. Taehyun saw drawings on the walls. They looked like wolves and humans standing together. "What is this place?" he asked. Duri made a low sound and walked to the far side of the cave. There was another passage there. Light came from it. Taehyun followed Duri through the passage. The space opened up into a huge cave. Sunlight came in through holes in the ceiling. There were plants growing, and a small stream ran through the middle. But what made Taehyun stop and stare were the others. More wolf creatures, at least 20 of them. Some were bigger than Duri, some smaller. They all turned to look at him. And there were humans too. About a dozen people sat or stood around small fires. They wore dirty clothes and looked thin, but they were alive. "Another one," said a woman, walking toward Taehyun. "I'm Juwoo. Welcome to our home." How did you escape the Verruk?" Taehyun asked. Jumu pointed to a large wolf creature with silver fur, Haru, and his pack, the Sanim, as they call themselves. "They've been saving as many of us as they can." Sanim. It means guest in our language, but we're not guests anymore. We're family now, Juwu said, humans and Sanim, together. Taehyun looked at Duri, who was now sitting beside him. For the first time in days, he felt hope. 3 days passed. Taehyun was very hungry. He had found some berries and a small stream for water, but it was not enough. The hollow tree was his home now. Each time he left to find food, he saw the wolf creature watching him from far away. "Why don't you just eat me and get it over with?" Taehyun shouted at it on the 3rd day. The wolf creature tilted its head, but did not come closer. That night, rain fell hard. Water leaked into Taehyun's tree. He was cold and wet. His stomach hurt from hunger. He thought about his parents and cried. A noise woke him. Something was outside the tree. Taehyun held his breath. Had the Varrock found him? A dead rabbit dropped at the entrance of his hollow tree. Taehyun looked out. The wolf creature stood there, its golden eyes watching him. It backed away a few steps, then sat down. "Did you bring this for me?" Taehyun asked. The wolf creature made a soft sound, almost like a quiet bark. Taehyun slowly reached for the rabbit. He was too hungry to refuse. He had never made a fire before, but his father had shown him how. He gathered dry sticks and leaves under a large tree where the rain couldn't reach. It took many tries, but finally, a small flame grew. As he cooked the rabbit, Taehyun kept looking at the wolf creature. It stayed a safe distance away but watched everything he did. "Thank you," Taehyun said. "I'll call you Duri. It means two in my language. There are two of us now." Duri's ears moved forward when Taehyun spoke. After eating, Taehyun felt stronger. He decided to find a better shelter. Duri followed him, always staying nearby, but never too close. When the sun was high, Taehyun heard a sound that made his blood turn cold. The beeping of a Varrock device. They were still hunting. "Hide," Taehyun whispered to Duri, but the wolf creature didn't run away. Instead, it came to Taehyun and pushed him with its nose, forcing him to move. Duri led him up a steep hill. The beeping got louder. The Varrock was getting closer. Taehyun's legs hurt, but he kept climbing. At the top of the hill, there was a small opening between two rocks. Duri pushed Taehyun toward it. "I can't fit in there," Taehyun said. Duri pushed harder. Taehyun got down on his hands and knees. The space was tight, but he managed to squeeze through. Inside was a small cave. Duri followed him in. They moved deeper into the cave. It was dark, but Duri seemed to know where to go. They walked for what felt like hours, through narrow passages and large open spaces inside the mountain. The beeping sound faded away. They were safe from the Varrock, for now. Finally, they came to a place where light shined down from a hole in the ceiling. Taehyun saw drawings on the walls. They looked like wolves and humans standing together. "What is this place?" he asked. Duri made a low sound and walked to the far side of the cave. There was another passage there. Light came from it. Taehyun followed Duri through the passage. The space opened up into a huge cave. Sunlight came in through holes in the ceiling. There were plants growing, and a small stream ran through the middle. But what made Taehyun stop and stare were the others. More wolf creatures, at least 20 of them. Some were bigger than Duri, some smaller. They all turned to look at him. And there were humans too. About a dozen people sat or stood around small fires. They wore dirty clothes and looked thin, but they were alive. "Another one," said a woman, walking toward Taehyun. "I'm Ju. Welcome to our home." How did you escape the Varrock?" Taehyun asked. Ju pointed to a large wolf creature with silver fur. Haru and his pack. The Sanim, as they call themselves. They've been saving as many of us as they can. Sanim. It means guest in our language. But we're not guests anymore. We're family now, Ju said. Humans and Sanim. Together. Taehyun looked at Duri, who was now sitting beside him. For the first time in days, he felt hope. For the next week, Taehyun trained with Duri. They ran through the forest together. Duri showed him how to move without making noise, how to hide his scent, how to listen to the forest. All the humans were paired with a Sanim. Ju worked with Haru. Minji was paired with a female Sanim named Nara. Doyum worked with a large male called Bin. One morning, Ju called everyone together. "We need to know more about the Varrock," she said. "Their technology. Their weaknesses." "They don't seem to have any weaknesses," Doyum said. "Their ships can find us. Their weapons can kill us from far away." Haru made a series of sounds. Ju translated with her hands, and then spoke. Haru says the Varrock have trouble tracking the Sonim. That's why they haven't found our cave. But they can track humans easily, Minji added. That's why we can't leave the cave much. Taehyun thought about this. When I was running from them, they had a device. It made beeping sounds. The closer they got to me, the faster it beeped. A tracking device, Ju said. It must detect something about humans that's different from the Sonim. Minji was quiet for a moment. Then she looked up. Heat. Our body heat patterns are different. Everyone turned to her. I studied some alien tech before I came to New Haven, Minji explained. Many advanced species use heat signatures to track, but they're looking for specific patterns. The way heat moves through a human body is different from animals, and different from the Sonim. Ju said, understanding. The Sonim have thicker fur. Their heat signatures would look different. Haru and the other Sonim were watching, their eyes bright with intelligence. Haru made more sounds, and Ju nodded. There's something else, she said. The Sonim hunt in packs. They move together. Humans usually move alone or in small groups. The Varrock are looking for lone heat signatures, Taehyun said. Single targets. Exactly, Ju agreed. Their technology is made to find solitary prey. But what if we don't act like prey? That afternoon, they tested their theory. Taehyun and Duri went to the edge of the forest, close to where Varrock hunters had been seen. They stayed very close together, with Duri's body partly covering Taehyun's. Soon, they heard the sound of a Varrock ship. It flew over the trees, scanning the ground. It passed right over them, then kept going. It worked. Taehyun whispered when the ship was gone. Duri made a happy sound and licked Taehyun's face. When they returned to the cave, everyone was excited by their news. If we stay close to our Sonim partners, the Varrock have trouble tracking us, Taehyun told the group. But we can't just hide forever, Do-yoon said. We need to fight back. Minji had been working on something. She showed them pieces of metal and wires she had collected. I've been studying the Varrock tech from a broken scanner we found, she said. If I can understand how their devices work, maybe I can make something to disrupt them. Or to track them instead, Ju added. That night, they made plans. Taehyun, Duri, Do-yoon, and Bin would follow a Varrock hunting party. They would learn how the aliens moved, how they communicated, what weapons they used. Be careful, Ju told them. Don't take any risks. Just watch and come back. Taehyun nodded. He was scared, but also determined. Next to him, Duri stood tall and strong. We'll be back, Taehyun promised. And then we'll know how to fight them. As they prepared to leave, Haru came to Taehyun. The pack leader touched his nose to Taehyun's forehead. It was a blessing, a sign of trust. For the first time, humans were not just prey running scared. They were hunters planning their attack. For 3 days, Taehyun and Duri watched the Varrock hunting party. There were 5 aliens, all tall with metal-like skin. They carried long weapons that shot beams of light. They used their beeping devices to track something in the forest, probably other humans who had escaped. On the 3rd day, Taehyun and Do-yoon returned to the cave with their Sonim partners. Everyone gathered to hear what they had learned. The Varrock always followed the same pattern, Taehyun explained. They start hunting at dawn. They'd follow their devices until they find tracks. Then they split up, with one staying near their small ship. They talk to each other with small boxes on their wrists, Do-yoon added, and their weapons need time to cool down after 5 or 6 shots. Ju nodded. This is good information. Now we can make a real plan. Minji showed them what she had been working on, a device made from parts she had taken from a broken Varrock scanner. It makes a heat pattern that looks like a human, she said. We can use it to trick them. Haru made a series of growls and barks. Ju translated. Haru says it's time to fight, not just hide. This hunting party is small. We can take them. Everyone was quiet. They had been running for so long. The idea of fighting back was both scary and exciting. I agree with Haru, Taeyeon said. We need to show the Varrock that humans are not easy prey. They made a plan. It was simple but smart. They would use Minji's device to lead the Varrock into a trap. The next morning, 10 humans and 10 Sonam moved through the forest. They found a place with many large rocks and trees where they could hide. Minji placed her device in a small clearing. Now we wait, Ju said. They didn't wait long. Soon they heard the familiar sound of a Varrock ship flying low over the trees. It landed nearby. 5 Varrock hunters got out, their devices beeping as they detected the fake heat signature. The aliens spread out, moving toward the clearing. They thought they were the hunters, but today they were the hunted. Taeyeon held his breath as the first Varrock came into view. The alien was looking at its device, not paying attention to the forest around it. Haru gave a low growl, the signal. All at once, the Sonam rushed from their hiding places. They moved like shadows, fast and silent. Each one jumped on a Varrock, knocking the alien down before it could use its weapon. At the same time, the humans attacked. They had made simple weapons, spears with sharp rock tips, heavy clubs, and slings that threw stones with great force. Taeyeon and Duri went for the Varrock that seemed to be the leader. Duri jumped on the alien from behind while Taeyeon hit its arm with his club. The Varrock's weapon fell to the ground. The fight was short but fierce. The Varrock were strong, but they were surprised. They didn't expect humans and Sonam to work together. They didn't expect to be attacked at all. 4 of the Varrock fell quickly. The 5th tried to run back to its ship, but Doyoon and Bin cut it off. Doyoon threw his spear, hitting the Varrock in the leg. It fell, hurt but still alive. We did it, Taeyeon said, breathing hard. We really did it. Around him, humans and Sonam were checking for injuries. There were some cuts and bruises, but everyone was alive. More importantly, they had 4 dead Varrock and 1 alive. Tie that one up, Ju said, pointing to the injured alien. We need to learn more about them. Minji was already collecting Varrock weapons and devices. With these, I can make better tools for us, she said. That night, back in the cave, they celebrated their first victory. It was small, but important. For the first time, the Varrock had lost a hunting party. For the first time, humans were not just prey. This is just the beginning, Taeyeon told Duri as they sat by the fire. The Sonam rested his head on Taeyeon's knee. Tomorrow, they would question their prisoner. Tomorrow, they would learn more about their enemy. But tonight, they would remember what it felt like to win. The Varrock prisoner sat against the cave wall. Its green eyes glowed in the dark. It had not spoken or made any sounds since being captured. Ju tried again to communicate with it. Why do you hunt us? She asked. She used hand signs, drew pictures on the ground, and showed the alien images of the attacks. The Varrock just stared at her. Maybe it can't understand us, Taeyeon said. No, it understands, Ju replied. It just won't talk. Minji had been working with the Varrock devices they had taken. She came running into the cave, her face worried. You need to see this, she said. She held up a small square object with a screen. It showed moving dots and strange symbols. I figured out how to make it work, Minji explained. It's not just a hunting tool. It's a communication device, and it's receiving messages. Everyone gathered around to look. What do the messages say? Doyoon asked. I don't know all of it, Minji said, but I understand numbers. And these numbers are counting down. Haru made a low growl and looked at the Varrock prisoner. The alien finally moved. It made a clicking sound that almost seemed like laughter. It knows something, Taeyeon said. Something bad is coming. That night, they took turns watching the prisoner. Taeyeon and Duri had the late shift. As they sat in the dim light of the cave, the Varrock suddenly spoke. Its voice was rough, like stones rubbing together. "You fight well, human," it said in broken words. "But it doesn't matter." Taehyun was so surprised that he couldn't speak at first. Then he asked, "Why doesn't it matter?" The Varrock's green eyes seemed to glow brighter. "We are many. You are few. Soon, the main fleet comes." Taehyun felt cold fear in his stomach. "Fleet? You mean more ships?" "Many ships. Hundreds. The hunting parties are just scouts. We find good worlds. Then the fleet comes to take everything." Taehyun ran to wake Ju and the others. Soon, everyone was listening as the Varrock spoke. "Why do you do this?" Ju asked. "Why hunt other species?" "It is our way," the Varrock said simply. "Strong hunt. Weak are prey, or slaves." "When will the fleet arrive?" Minji asked. The Varrock made that clicking laugh again. 3 of your months. Then this world is ours." After the Varrock stopped talking, the humans and Sonam gathered to discuss what they had learned. 3 months, Doyun said. "That's not much time. And we're talking about hundreds of ships, not just a few hunters," Minji added. Haru and the other Sonam made sounds of anger and worry. Ju translated for them. Haru says their people have stories about the Varrock. Long ago, the Varrock came to this world, but left because there wasn't enough here to interest them. Now they're back, and in greater numbers. Taehyun looked at everyone's worried faces. Then he looked at Duri, who sat tall beside him. "We can't just wait for them to come," Taehyun said. "We need to prepare. We need to fight." "But how can we fight hundreds of ships?" Sora asked. She had been quiet until now. "The same way we fought the hunting party," Taehyun replied. "Together. Smart. Using what we know about them." Minji held up the Varrock devices, and using their own technology against them. Ju nodded slowly. "Taehyun is right. We can't run or hide from this. We need to stand and fight." "But we need more people," Doyum said. "There are other human settlements on this planet, and more Sonam packs in other forests." "Then we'll find them," Taehyun said. "We'll bring everyone together." Haru made a series of barks and growls. The other Sonam joined in, creating a powerful sound that filled the cave. "What are they saying?" Taehyun asked. Ju smiled, her eyes bright with determination. "They're saying that the hunt has changed. The prey has teeth now." Over the next few weeks, small groups of humans and Sonam went out to find others. Taehyun and Duri traveled north, toward the mountains where another human settlement had been. They moved carefully, staying close to avoid Varrock detection. At night, they slept in trees or small caves, with Duri's warm body keeping Taehyun from freezing in the cold mountain air. On the 5th day, they found tracks, human footprints mixed with what looked like Sonam paw prints. "We're not the only ones who made friends," Taehyun said to Duri. The Sonam made a happy sound and sniffed the tracks. They followed the trail to a waterfall. Behind the falling water was a hidden cave. As they approached, 3 humans with spears and a large black Sonam stepped out. "Stop there," said a tall man with a deep voice. "Who are you?" "I'm Taehyun from New Haven. This is Duri. We've come to find others who survived the Varrock attacks." The man lowered his spear slightly. "I'm Doyun. How do I know you're not working with the aliens?" Duri stepped forward and made a series of sounds. The black Sonam's ears perked up, and it responded with similar sounds. "Your wolf speaks to Maru," Doyun said, surprised. "They know each other. The Sonam are all connected," Taehyun explained. "They're not just animals. They're people, like us, and they've been fighting the Varrock longer than we have." Doyun studied them for a moment, then nodded. "Come inside. There are 23 of us, 15 humans, and 8 Sonam." Inside the cave behind the waterfall, Taehyun met the other survivors. There was Hek, who had been a doctor in the northern settlement. Rena, who knew how to make medicines from plants. Jin, who could build almost anything with his hands. Taehyun told them about their cave, about Juwoo and Minji and the others. He told them about capturing the Varrock and learning about the coming fleet. 3 months isn't much time, Huck said, his face worried. That's why we need to join together, Taehyun replied. Alone, we have no chance. Together, we might find a way. The next day, Doyoon and 5 others agreed to return with Taehyun to the main cave. The rest would follow in smaller groups to avoid detection. When they arrived back at the cave, they found that others had returned with more survivors. The cave was now full of people, and Sonam, Juwoo, came to greet them. We found 57 more humans and 32 Sonam, she said, and Haru's scouts have located 3 more Sonam packs who will join us. How many altogether? Taehyun asked. Over 200 counting everyone, Juwoo said. It's a good start. Minji had been busy. She showed Taehyun the weapons she had made using Varrock technology. They use energy weapons, but the power sources can be changed, she explained. I've made 10 so far. Not enough, but it's a beginning. Sora had also made progress. I've created a system to help humans and Sonam communicate better, she said. She showed Taehyun a set of hand signals and sounds that both species could use. Simple commands for fighting and hunting, she explained. Left, right, attack, retreat, danger, safe. That night, around a large fire, the expanded group shared their stories and skills. Rina taught others about healing plants. Huck showed how to treat wounds. Jin worked with Minji on building more weapons. Most importantly, each human was paired with a Sonam partner. They trained together, learning to move as one, to fight as one. Taehyun watched as a young woman named Yuna practiced walking silently with her Sonam partner. She's getting good, Doyoon said, coming to stand beside Taehyun. We all need to get good, Taehyun replied. The Varrock won't be easy to defeat. No, Doyoon agreed, but at least now we have a chance. As the fire burned low, Taehyun looked around at the humans and Sonam sleeping side by side. The pack had grown, and with it, hope had grown too. 3 months passed quickly. The humans and Sonam trained hard every day. They made weapons, planned strategies, and prepared for war. Scouts reported that more Varrock ships were arriving. Small ones at first, then larger ones. They were gathering above New Haven, the main human settlement that was now empty of people but full of Varrock. It's starting, Juwoo told everyone one morning. Our scouts saw 5 large ships land last night. The main fleet will be here soon. Taehyun looked at the gathered fighters, over 300 humans and nearly 200 Sonam. They had come from all over the planet. Each human wore simple armor made from hard tree bark and animal hides. Each carried weapons, some made from Varrock technology, others simple but effective. Are we ready? Taehyun asked Minji, who had become their weapon master. As ready as we can be, she replied. She handed him a small device. This will disrupt their tracking technology for about 10 minutes. Use it wisely. Haru called everyone together with a loud howl. The massive silver Sonam had become the respected leader of all the packs. Beside him stood Juwoo, who had learned to speak the Sonam language better than anyone. Today we fight not just for survival, but for our home, Juwoo said. The Varrock think we are prey. Today we show them they are wrong. The plan was dangerous but simple. They would attack in 3 groups. One would hit the Varrock from the North Forest, another from the south. The third, led by Taehyun, Duri, Minji, and Doyoon, would go straight for the main Varrock ship. If we can disable their command ship, it will cause confusion, Minji had explained. It might give us an advantage. As the sun rose higher, the groups moved into position. Taehyun and Duri watched from a hill as more Varrock ships appeared in the sky above New Haven. They were huge, much bigger than the hunting vessels. There are so many, Taehyun whispered. Duri pressed against him, warm and solid. The Sonnen was not afraid. The signal came, 3 long howls from different directions. The attack had begun. From the forests north and south of New Haven, humans and Sonnen rushed toward the Verok camp. They moved together, each human with their Sonnen partner, making it hard for Verok scanners to detect them. The Verok were surprised. They had not expected an attack. They had not expected prey to fight back. As the battle began on 2 sides, Taehyun's team moved quickly toward the center of New Haven. They used the confusion to get close to the main ship. Now, Minji shouted. Taehyun activated the device she had given him. Around them, Verok scanning devices stopped working. They fought their way to the ship. The Verok were strong, but humans and Sonnen fighting together were stronger. Humans used weapons and strategy. Sonnen used speed and power. Together, they were unstoppable. Minji led them to a door on the side of the ship. "I can open this," she said. Her hands worked quickly on the control panel. The door slid open. Inside, they found more Verok. The fight was fierce. Doyun was hit by a Verok weapon, his arm badly burned. His Sonnen partner, Maru, protected him while Jin pulled him to safety. Taehyun and Duri pushed forward with Minji. They reached the main control room. Minji began working on the computers while Taehyun and Duri held off the Verok. "Almost there," Minji called. "This will shut down their communications." A large Verok, bigger than the others, entered the room. It carried a weapon that glowed bright red. It aimed at Minji. Duri saw the danger. The Sonnen leaped through the air, hitting the Verok hard. They fell to the ground, fighting. The Verok's weapon fired, hitting the ceiling. Duri bit the alien's arm, but the Verok was strong. It threw Duri against the wall. The Sonnen fell and didn't move. "Duri!" Taehyun screamed. He ran at the Verok, dodging its weapon fire. He hit it with all his strength, knocking it down. They fought hand to hand. The Verok was stronger, but Taehyun was fighting for Duri, for his friends, for his home. He would not lose. "Done," Minji shouted. The lights on the ship flickered. "I shut down their systems and planted a virus. It will spread to all connected ships." The Verok commander realized what was happening. It pushed Taehyun away and ran for the controls. Too late. The damage was done. Taehyun ran to Duri's side. The Sonnen was breathing, but weakly. Blood matted his thick fur. "Stay with me," Taehyun whispered, his hands gentle on Duri's head. "Please stay with me." Around them, the Verok ship was in chaos. Lights flashed on and off. Strange sounds came from the ship's speakers. Minji's virus was working. "We need to get out now," Minji said. "The virus is spreading to all their systems. Some might explode." Together, Taehyun and Minji carried Duri out of the ship. Outside, the battle still raged. But something had changed. The Verok were confused. Their weapons weren't working right. Their communication devices were silent. "It's working," Ju shouted as she saw Taehyun. "The Verok are falling back." All across New Haven, Verok were running back to their ships. Some ships tried to take off but crashed back down. Others flew in strange patterns, as if their controls weren't working. In the sky above, the large Verok ships were also affected. They bumped into each other. Some drifted away from the planet. "The virus has spread to the fleet," Minji explained. "It's affecting all their connected systems." Taehyun barely heard her. He was focused on Duri. The Sonnen's breathing was getting weaker. "We need Hyuk and Rina," he said. "Duri needs help." They carried Duri to a safe place where the wounded were being treated. Kuk, the doctor, and Rina, the plant healer, were working together to save humans and Sonnen. "Put him here," Hyuk said, pointing to a clear space. "The wound is deep, but I think we can help him." For the next hour, Hyuk and Rina worked on Duri. They cleaned the wound, used healing plants, and bandaged him carefully. Taehyun stayed by his side the whole time, talking softly to his friend. All around them, the sounds of battle faded. Reports came in from all sides. The Varrock were retreating. Their ships were leaving Earth's sky. Those that could fly were taking off. Those that couldn't were being abandoned. By sunset, it was clear. The humans and Sonam had won. The Varrock fleet was gone. "They're running away," Doyun said in wonder. His arm was bandaged where he had been hurt. "We actually beat them. We hurt their pride," Ju said. "The hunters became the hunted. They won't forget that." "Will they come back?" someone asked. "Maybe someday," Ju replied. "But next time, we'll be ready." 3 weeks later, the humans and Sonam gathered in a large field near New Haven. They had started to rebuild their homes, but differently this time. The new buildings were made for both humans and Sonam to live in together. Duri was healing well. He walked slowly beside Taehyun to the middle of the field where Haru and Ju waited. "Today we celebrate not just our victory," Ju said to everyone, "but our new beginning." Humans came to this planet as settlers. Sonam were already here. The Varrock came as hunters. But now, humans and Sonam are one people. "We will build our world together." Haru made a series of sounds that all the Sonam now understood meant family and together. Taehyun looked around at the gathered humans and Sonam. Children played with Sonam pups. Humans and Sonam worked side by side building new homes. This was not what anyone had expected when the Varrock first attacked, but it was better than anything they could have hoped for. That evening, Taehyun sat on a hill overlooking New Haven with Duri beside him. The sun was setting, painting the sky in beautiful colors. "We were prey once," Taehyun said softly to Duri. "Both humans and Sonam. We were hunted, but when we fought together, we became something new." Duri made a soft sound and rested his head on Taehyun's lap. In the valley below, the lights of the new settlement began to glow as darkness fell. "I don't know if the Varrock will come back," Taehyun continued, "but I know we'll never be prey again." As the stars came out, more humans and Sonam joined them on the hill. Ju and Haru, Minji and Nara, Doyun and Maru, and many others. They sat together under the night sky, no longer two separate species, but one family, one pack.